Football is a global obsession on a scale that is difficult to overstate. Today, nearly 4 billion people, half the planet, follow the game. It is a sport with the unique cultural power to take local players and turn them into global icons, recognized in almost every city on Earth. Because the first official leagues and the Football Association were founded in London, modern history usually credits the British as the sole inventors of the sport. But historical evidence suggests otherwise. By 2500 BC, Greeks, Romans, and Egyptians were recorded playing early versions of a ball-kicking game. Britain didn't create the physical act of kicking a ball toward a goal. They inherited a practice that had been played by civilizations for thousands of years. To find the most structured ancestor of the game, we have to travel back to the Han Dynasty in China between 206 BC and 220 AD. This was the era of Cuzhu, the earliest documented version of a game with specific rules that mirror the football we know today. The mechanics were strict. Players used a leather ball and were prohibited from using their hands. They could only use their feet to move it. The objective was equally familiar. Players had to kick the ball through a small net suspended between two high bamboo poles. This proves that a highly organized, competitive version of football was thriving in Asia centuries before the game was ever formalized in Europe. While Cuzhu was refined and structured, the early British versions of the sport were far more primitive. By the 9th century, English villagers played mob football. These were violent brawls where massive crowds fought through muddy streets over an inflated pig's bladder. Over hundreds of years, this chaos slowly changed. The games became less about wrestling and more about kicking the ball to advance it. In 15th century Scotland, we find the first records of clan members playing in churchyards, using a style that focused on passing and running, rather than just brute force. Modern tactics like ball control and passing weren't invented by a committee. They grew out of centuries of localized games and village traditions. The turning point came in the mid-19th century, when ancient traditions merged with modern administration. Between the founding of Scottish clubs in 1864 and the English Football Association in 1868, the game was stripped of its regional quirks and given a single set of rules. The creation of the Scottish FA in 1873 completed the process, ensuring that every team across the UK was playing the same sport. Britain's real contribution wasn't inventing the act of playing football, but engineering a standardized, scalable system that allowed different regions to compete. Once the rules were written down, the sport could cross borders. It spread instantly from the UK to the Netherlands, Denmark, and down into Argentina and Chile. Having one rulebook meant a club in Buenos Aires could play a club in London without confusion. Local variants faded away, and the game became the primary shared pastime for billions. So, who really invented football? Humanity did. The game is the result of a shared ancient instinct to simply kick a ball toward a goal. While ancient dynasties birthed the sport, Britain provided the shared language, allowing the entire world to step onto the same pitch and play together.